Hello, everybody. Hi, I'm Sophie, and I'm the CEO and founder of Junomedical, which is a company that helps patients find medical procedures abroad. Almost a year ago, or quite exactly a year ago, I was sitting at this panel at last year's Heurekas, and I think you can tell by the body language that I was the most junior, most nervous person on that panel. 1 month after launch of my company, not really knowing where this is going to lead me. So what do we do? Junomedical is a curated marketplace that helps patients book medical procedures abroad. So we take the agency business and put it online. So you can come to our website, you can browse through over 200 treatments, you can view reviews and doctors, you can book your appointment wherever in the world online. So why do we do that? And apologize because the font was kind of messed up after we played it onto the new computer. But we help people find lower cost, better quality, and shorter wait time procedures. And oftentimes it's a combination of those three reasons why people would use our service. A lot of times patients can't afford healthcare in their own country, or they can't find the right doctor to do the right procedure, or they have to wait for too long to actually get to see a surgeon. In all three cases, we can help. Because we do fundamentally believe that every patient in this world deserves easy access to the best doctors. So let's take a quick look at what happened in the past 12 months. So as mentioned, last year in May, we had our public launch of Junomedical. Before that, we worked on an MVP, just testing the market and seeing whether this could be a business, a viable business online that we could launch. So in May, we went public. We turned on our online marketing campaigns. We were a team of 6 people sitting in a small room, really trying to get our first patients to speak to us and to book with us. 1 month after, so we launched in UK, that was our first market. 1 month after that, we launched in Germany in June, and we hired our second doctor onto the team. In July, we launched the US market and Ireland, and we hired another patient manager onto a team. Those are those people who speak on the phone with our patients who call in and try to inquire for a treatment. In August, we launched our second German-speaking market, which was Austria, and we hired our CTO. In September, we did not launch a new market, but we closed our first seed funding round, and at that time, we had enough leads and enough patient volume to actually make the next step and build our CRM system. For all of you in the audience who know what pain it is to build a CRM system, we did it in 2 weeks, day and night, and nothing broke afterwards. We hired 2 more people. In October, we launched the Australian market, so another English-speaking market, and launched another engineer onto our team, hired another engineer onto our team. And then in November and December, we did not launch new markets, but those were the months where we actually started to grow and to optimize throughout all of our processes. And since the beginning of 2017, we hired 4 more people, and we launched 6 more markets. So right now, 12 months after launch, we are present in over 20 countries. This is where our patients come from, in over 10 countries. This is where our patients come from, and work with doctors and hospitals worldwide in over 20 countries. We're a team of 20 people sitting here in Berlin and working very hard to improve access to healthcare for people around the world. So what are the key learnings I'd like to kind of talk about that I generated in the past 12 months? So number 1, move fast and be pragmatic. So when I look back over the past 12 months, it almost feels like 3 years in terms of achievements and fuck-ups that we had. And we were only able to move that fast and achieve so many things in only 1 year of time because we were very fast in moving forward and quite pragmatic in how we made decisions. So we didn't try to be perfect. One thing where we tried to be perfect was the patient side of things. So our aim was to generate the most amazing patient experience in the world. And that was the one side where we did not compromise. On all the other things, we did. So I remember one day where we were sitting together shortly before we launched the Australian market, and we were talking about what our next move would be. And I asked my team, I was like, what keeps us from launching the Australian market? And nobody really had a good reason why not. So I looked at my marketing team and I said, how long does it take you to build a campaign, a Facebook and a Google campaign for the Australian market? And they were like, 2 hours. And then I looked at my engineer and I said, how long does it take you to rebuild a landing page for this Australian market? And he was like, yeah, probably 2 hours. And then I was like, okay, let's go do it. And 4 days later, we were set up to launch a completely new market and a new continent in a new time zone with completely new patient audiences. And that was something where we didn't, that was just one of those moments where I got really, really excited, and being able to work in an environment where you just can make a decision and you can move forward and you just go and measure success. And if it doesn't work, you just turn it back. Number 2, work your ass off. So we were working from the very beginning and still today, day and night. I still remember the first days where patient volume came in and people started calling us and emailing us. And we weren't, frankly, not enough people on the customer service team to actually take all those leads. And we were all sitting in the same room. So everybody was on the phone, including our engineers, our product manager, our designer, myself still. And we were just calling patients like crazy. Some of them weren't that good in managing patient calls, so we took them off the phone again. But it was really, there was no question, all hands on deck whenever was needed, and that was just something that was very, very valuable in the early days. And you should all, keep your teams and team members accountable to that. Number 3, don't give up. So especially when I was raising my first round and I was pitching the first 20 investors and got my first 20 declines, this is when you actually start wondering whether your idea is actually a good idea. And you will have a lot of people telling you that this is not going to work, or this is a bad idea, or your approach is not the right one. And of course, you should reflect upon that, and you should challenge yourself critically upon that feedback. But on the other hand, somebody told me if that was a good idea, probably somebody, if that was an obviously good idea, somebody probably would have done that before. So really, get your ass out of bed every day. Don't give up. Things won't work the first time. Things won't work the second time. But it's really, really important to have this mindset that you will try until it works. Number 4, don't waste money. And this is something that is very near and dear to my heart, especially as an early stage founder. We are a very typical venture-backed company that gets money from other people, basically. And this money came from somewhere. And most of the time, this money comes from hard work, too. And I think oftentimes we founders, we forget where this money comes from. And we just, we oftentimes don't consider respecting the funds and the resources we get. I just, when you walk into the Junomedical office in Mitte, it's a nice office, but it's fairly simple. All our furniture comes from IKEA, and the single most expensive item in our office is our coffee machine, which is used very regularly on a very high-intensity basis. We don't have big, shiny logos in there. We don't go on fancy company retreats. We don't have swags. We don't print stickers and things like this. And there is a lot of discussion behind that, how far you should go and how much of kind of a fun or creative environment you should create. But I think you should, you can't do that without spending too much money on things that don't bring too much value or return. I would rather hire 2 more people than spending money on stuff. Last but not least, find your warriors. And this is something that is super important to me as a founder and as somebody who started from an idea, from nothing, and trying to create something and make something out of nothing. You need people by your side. You need warriors, who stand up for your vision, who believe in your mission, who work for you day and night, who challenge you, who yell at you if you're wrong or if you're having a bad day, but who really support you. And there was one time when I was sitting there and, shit hit the fan again and things were going wrong, and I was just like, oh, what the fuck, my God, why are we doing this? And then one of my junior team members, she was sitting there and she was like, Sophie, don't worry. if things go down, we just sit here. We won't go home. We will just work day and night until it works again. And you know, in moments like this, you really need the support of other people to actually keep you up, because starting a company is a team marathon and not something you can pull out by yourself. Because again, in the end, as entrepreneurs, we are creators. We create something out of nothing, and hopefully this is just the very beginning. Thank you.
Thanks, Sophie, for this talk. We now have 4 minutes for questions and answers. So, questions, raise your hands, please. Until you come up with a question, maybe I start. So, where do you get your tutoring, mentoring, support? Do you have a network, or is it more privately gathered?
It depends. So it's not. I don't have this one mentor who helps me with everything, but I have people I can go to for different things. So if I have questions around fundraising and contracting work, I have a person who I can go to. I worked in New York before for ZocDoc, which is one of the larger digital health companies out there. The founders there are my mentors when I have questions about business-related things. So I think it's important to understand who can help you in which situation and actually build a relationship with those people.
So tell me maybe about, because we'll soon move on to talk about Berlin with the next panel. Why did you choose Berlin instead of New York?
Yeah, so, well, I was in New York before. I moved back to Berlin to start my company. And when I was telling people that I was about to move back to New York, to Berlin to start my company, everybody in New York and Silicon Valley was like, this is the biggest mistake you're making in your life. Like, why are you not doing it here? But I think, there is no reason there wasn't a reason not to do it in Berlin, and there were many reasons to do it in Berlin. I think Berlin has developed a great ecosystem of founders, startups, talent, and VCs. Funding is fairly easy so far. Everybody comes to Berlin to work. Even the Americans are fleeing Trump right now and come to Berlin and search for jobs. And it's so much cheaper to start a company here compared to the US.
Are there questions in the audience by now? Yes, here we have one. Where's our microphone? It's coming from back there.
Here.
Yeah.
How did you found your staff or your co-founders and so on?
So it's a recruiting question, exactly. How do you recruit your staff?
So a lot of people I've worked with before. So those are people who were with me in New York or in other jobs before I knew. And others were frankly just network and recruiting. No magic behind that. Just try to find the best people by being able to, ask the right questions.
Another question, just raise your hands. Also, it's a throwable microphone. We can just throw it randomly, and then you have to come up with a question. Just do like this, exactly. If not, maybe, well, you've been here 12 months ago, so if you were to come back next year for the next Heureka, what do you think? What's happening until then? What are the next challenges, or what do you see happening?
Yeah, good question. So we want to grow broader in geographies. We want to be much better in treating more complex treatments. So hopefully by then we've done the first, kidney transplant and are in 50 or 60 countries instead of just 20.
That's an interesting one. How do you actually choose which treatments you focus on? Is it more that's what people really need, or that's what people are willing to spend a lot of money for, or how do you?
Well, it's a triangulation of demand and risk. So when we started off, we didn't want to go into high-risk treatments such as open heart surgery. Because with open heart surgery, your surgeon can be as good as you want, people will die. And if you don't want that, just don't do it. So we started off with treatments that were fairly low complexity, low risk, but high volume. So it was dermatology, dentistry, minimal invasive surgery and all that. But now we're moving into oncology, open heart surgery and all that to actually increase the portfolio of treatments that we can offer.
How do you make sure that these doctors then are actually available?
So we make sure by having enough doctors on our platform. We have insight into their calendars and schedules to be able to actually give away dates. And also we make sure that those doctors are not available, but that the doctors that we work with are the best qualified ones that we can find.
So let's look again in the audience. Last question. If not, we move on to the next panel. All right, let's move on.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Sophie Chung.
You're welcome.